Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Brandon. Welcome to Audio Addiction, where you can find latest album reviews. You can find our band interviews, and you can find other music-related content on the channel. I've been changing up the times to send out the interviews. They've been going out Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 6 p.m. now, so definitely keep your eye out for that. Thank you guys for watching all that stuff. It's much appreciated. I've been doing a lot of reaction videos / fan suggestions sort of stuff on my Twitch channel, so if you want to check that out, I'll leave a link below to go watch that. I'll be doing a highlight reel. Hopefully all the episodes will be out next week, so keep your eyes peeled for that. And I'll also be releasing another EP review along with this one for Mallory Run, so go check them out. They're major homies of the channel. I love them to death, so go give them a listen. But tonight, you guys are here for one reason and one reason only, which is the new Devil Wears Prada EP, Zombie 2. So for those of you who aren't familiar with this band, which would be a great surprise to me, they are a metalcore band I feel like they're considered a legendary band, at least in the scene. From my perspective, they're one of the first bands that got me into metalcore and all that sort of stuff. So I have a lot of affinity for what they do, especially considering their other EP that they did, the Zombie EP, the first one. I love that. I would say that is arguably one of the best metalcore records of all time, and I just feel like it's pure perfection, honestly. And to say that they were going to announce Zombie 2 a few months back really got me inspired and really stoked to go check out the old stuff as well as this new record. And I had high hopes that it's going to be a good follow-up, and obviously I'm going to go through each track, give you my thoughts and opinions on it, go through some pros and cons, and then finish it out with an overall rating. I want to give a massive shout-outs to Adam Splitter PR for sending me over this record early. It means a lot. Thank you guys so much. But the first track is called Nightfall. By the time this comes out, the song Nightfall will be out, which is great. So go check this one out. But this one starts off the record immediately. Mike screams just hit you right in the face, and I love it. It kicks this record off in style. There's no shortage of heaviness that awaits you on this record, from the guitar, dirty guitar riffs courtesy of Kyle and Jeremy, to the pounding drums of Giuseppe. The song really kind of immerses you in right away, especially to a world that I would imagine most of you are familiar with over 5 years ago, which again is very shocking to me, but I understand that it's been a while since they did Zombie. But really like that. I also like they picked up right where they left off, and obviously based off of the press, they were gonna continue on after what had happened in Zombie 1, which is awesome. I think stylistically, I love the darker tones of this record thus far. I think they definitely match up with the sort of lyrical content of the record, and as you'll see going further, it definitely plays into a larger role on this record more specifically. And I also love that it allows you to visualize the types of emotions you would feel if it was nightfall during a zombie apocalypse, which is really cool. And I like that the name really kind of coincides with the type of feeling and emotions that you might feel with a song like that. I will say the keys and the synths were definitely more subtle on this track. They're a little bit more forefronted in tracks to follow, but I felt like this one in terms of like synth work was a little bit light. I do feel like they added more of an atmosphere as opposed to being the forefront. If you go back and listen to Zombie 1, it was definitely more in your face. There's definitely a lot more strings, things of that nature. Obviously the synths at that time were a little bit different. This one feels a little bit more, I want to say a little bit more matured, which I like. It kind of follows suit to like the past couple records being Transit Blues and The Act, which is great, but it's definitely more subtle and not as in your face. I like the nice callback to Revive off of the first EP. That was really cool as being a Zombie 1 aficionado. I love the fact that they were able to do that, and obviously I feel like it brings along that sort of storyline aspect of what they're doing with Zombie 2, kind of tailing into obviously the tail end of Zombie 1. So very cool. definitely dig that. It was a nice, like, I guess, like semblance note, I guess, pretty much. So very cool. Definitely dig Nightfall. So we're gonna move on to track number 2, which is Forlorn. This song is very deceptive. I've listened to this song probably the most times that I've listened to any record that I've done a review on. I like mulled through this record so many different times. But I think this song has some of the heaviest and most melodic moments of this record. I really fell in love with the chorus almost immediately, especially the one closer to the end of the song. I feel like they really expanded it well, and it obviously fits well with the Devil Wears Prada songs and sounds that you know very well. However, in the same sort of sentence, at around the 1 minute and 33 second mark to around the 1 minute and 52 second mark, that part I feel like will just knock you straight on your ass. It is super in your face, aggressive, heavy, and I love it. I also love the fact that Jonathan, their synth player, definitely gets a little bit more time in the spotlight. I feel like as the songs progress on this EP, he definitely becomes more of a forefront on this EP specifically. I felt like the first song, a little taste test. Now we're getting to the main chorus, and it really adds this really cool element to this track specifically, and definitely is more reminiscent of newer material, i.e. The Act and Transit Blues. Probably a little bit less of Transit Blues and more of The Act, but it definitely has that more of a vibe to it. And I it's almost weird because like, you can tell, and I'm curious, in terms of how they wrote them, in terms of numerical order, if they were written in that way, or they were kind of all like demos or something like that, where they were kind of going over the synths and just being very methodical about their sound. I don't really know in terms of what demo was first, what songs were written first, but I feel like that'd be a really cool thing to kind of find out. So I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I imagine there's some way. But I really dug this one a lot. I think this is definitely one of the sleeper tracks off this EP specifically. And it really kind of, I really feel like it kind of pushes this EP to the forefront as if it wasn't already. I love Nightfall too. But Forlorn, I feel like a lot of people are going to be sleeping on this one specifically. So we're going to move into track number 3, which is Termination. This was the first song that was released as a single, which I thought was really cool. It's definitely heavier again, very reminiscent of The Act as well. I feel like obviously since it was the record that they released more currently, I feel like they were gonna have a lot of carry a lot of that influence over into this EP. But definitely in this track, I feel like is the most apparent that The Act is obviously a large influence. But I really like how Termination plays with the space of this song. The synth and the layering of this track offers a really cool soundscape that I feel like isn't really tapped into as much on the rest of the record. And this track specifically reminds me a lot of The Thread off of, again, The Act, as I mentioned. But this one's just a really nice, heavy, kind of like spacey sort of track, and that ending hits like an absolute truck, which is awesome. Definitely love that about it. I would say this one, if I had to be honest, I felt like this one was probably the weakest track off the record, ironically enough, considering it was the first one released, but not bad at all by any means. It really plays into what the Devil Wears Prada to be more currently, and that isn't a bad thing. So definitely enjoyed this one, but probably not as much as both Nightfall and Forlorn. I felt like I enjoyed those a lot more. So we're going to move into track number 4, which is Nora. I like this track a lot too. I love that it has this really eerie, dark vibe in the intro. That guitar and synth combo just works so well together. I wish they would utilize that more in up-and-coming Devil Wears Prada work. I feel like that would be very cool. This song has a lot of my favorite guitar riffs. I love the kind of like galloping guitar riff that Jeremy and Kyle kind of worked out. It really stuck out to me immediately. It definitely reminds me a little bit of Bleed from Meshuggah. I feel like I will get a massive amount of hate for that, but it does kind of, obviously not the same, not as technical, but it definitely feels that way. I think it's mainly because of like the triplets, but man, I love that riff. Super tight. I love how this is just pretty aggressive and in your face for the most part. I'd say the only parts where it's like a little bit more tame is probably in the choruses where, you know, Jeremy's singing. I feel like they let up a little bit, but you know, they're still on the gas, so that's very cool. I love that Mason just has this really kind of great low end presence on this track. I think they're just able to open up a lot more space on this song, which I really think is awesome. And it adds to the depth and heaviness of this track, which I like. And I also love that it combines a lot of my favorite aspects of Z2. I think really what's going on in this track, I think really broadly, you know, a broad brushstroke on like the rest of the sounds you're going to hear on this record. If I had to kind of recommend a song that if you're not familiar with the Zombie EP series at all, I would probably recommend this one. This one just works. It just kind of has a good combination of everything off this EP. And I love that outro. That outro is money. Love it. Great shit. Probably one of the best outros off the record for sure. Unless we're talking about the last track number 5. Great segue, or maybe not. Track number 5, Contagion. I love that piano intro. Very cool. Very eerie. Very like sad, emotional vibes, which I got. I really like that. And I think it kind of plays into the whole kind of like zombie EP, zombie aspects of this record. Obviously, zombie apocalypse, but you know, I knew it was the start to a very climactic ending and kind of almost an ending to an era. I don't know if they would ever continue this series after this one. I feel like this kind of feels close to the end, if not the end, which is totally fine. I feel like they really do a great job of kind of filling in the gaps between Zombie 1 and Zombie 2, sonically and lyrically. I feel like, I don't know how much longer you would be able to take it. Maybe another EP, but I really feel like it would be a stretch. This really kind of like lands all the notes, at least for me. I love that the chorus has just this like sing-songy sort of vibe to it. But also there's just this undeniable heaviness to it that I love, that was shaped by the first EP, Zombie 1, and especially in a breakdown at around the 2 minutes and 25 second mark to around the 3 minutes and 35 second mark. That just wrecked me. When I first listened to it, I was just absolutely blown away, and I felt like this breakdown just shut me down immediately, which was great. I think it has a lot of the best aspects of, you know, all this entire record in one. Kind of similarly to how I would recommend Nora, I'd also probably recommend Contagion as well. Even more so, if I had to kind of tear them out, I'd probably put Contagion first, then Nora. But yeah, I feel like it really hits on all of those aspects as well. And then I think instrumentally, it really hits on things that I love about this record, which is the guitars are super heavy. I think what they're doing is obviously not reinventing the wheel too much, but I feel like it's very much Devil Wears Prada. If you know the band, you know you're going to love those riffs. The synth work, I think, really added a lot of depth to this track. I was a little worried just because like there's like a strong kind of synth presence in Zombie 1, and I was kind of like, their sounds different now, you know, are they going to be able to carry that same energy, or if they do, are they able to carry this energy in a different way? And I think they were able to kind of do it in a different way that still makes sense to the Devil Wears Prada of today, but pays homage to the Devil Wears Prada of old. So I really feel like they did a great job of kind of balancing the two things. I think probably the best example of that is like this track, Contagion, and also Termination. Despite it being more related to the act, I feel like synth wise it definitely plays into some old Zombie 1 vibes for sure. I love that the bass has this great low end presence, and you can feel that throughout the entire record, but I felt like more specifically in this track, and I'd also say Nora as well. You get to hear a lot of those really just thick vibes, which I like. And then Giuseppe just really carries the energy throughout this entire track. He sounds like an absolute monster. And I really enjoyed his drum playing on this track, and off this record in general. I think he does a great job. And I think he just brings a unique energy and a different flow, like, from their previous drummer. which is definitely cool. So I like that as well. And Jeremy sounds awesome in the chorus. I felt like he was maybe slightly underutilized, but I remember Zombie 1 not having too much clean vocalists, and I feel like in this particular setting, I think it just works that there's probably like a teensy bit less of singing and more screaming. But I think I think they found the right balance between both of those things. And probably the biggest if I had to give the MVP award out, I'd probably say Mike gets the biggest MVP. His screams, like, I know he gets ragged on about his screams currently, but I felt like this felt like a good combination of like old Mike and new Mike. There was definitely some tracks where, like, obviously, like, there's layers, so like there's a lot of depth in terms of his like lower screaming, but you could hear that he was doing some like low end screaming, and it's him, I would imagine, and it does sound like him. And I felt like, in my personal opinion, I felt like he has sounded the best that he's sounded in years. And that's not to diss previous records at all. I love them to death just as much. But I felt like this one definitely took me back to when I was listening to Zombie 1 and like Dead Thrones and like with Roots. And it just feels like that. He's just elevated, and I felt like he really pushed himself on this EP. And that last breakdown, just the icing on the cake to just a wonderful closeout of the record. And I think just a closeout to the Zombie series as a whole. I think, like, instrumentally really beautiful, kind of, kind of a different take on the Zombie franchise per se, but also in the same point, like, it's very attuned to what their sound is currently, and I think they did a great job of kind of hitting the gap between those two things. So some pros and cons. I think I'd argue it's probably one of their best works in recent years. I haven't been as stoked for something in such a hot while, and for it to pay off like the way that it did pay off on this EP, I think is great. I think a lot of people, especially if you love Zombie 1, I think you're going to find a lot of enjoyment out of this one. I would definitely say if you're more of a fan of their current work, I'd probably say you would enjoy this a lot, but I think there's a really big gray area, but like a good gray area of people that love just Devil Wears Prada in general and have loved everything from, when they first did Zombie 1 to now, and like everything, obviously that predated Zombie 1. I think you're going to really enjoy this record. And especially considering people who have been with Devil Wears Prada for that long, to hear them do a second installment, I think that in and of itself is just a wonderful thing. So who knows? Maybe we might get Space 2. That'd be very interesting. I would like to hear that. I feel like that would be pretty interesting to hear. And I like when they do concept records. I don't know. They just do a really good job of doing it. Mike's become a better lyricist, and I think it just really works. So my overall rating for Devil Wears Prada Zombie 2, I'm going to be giving it a 9.8 out of 10. Definitely one of the best EPs of this year for sure. I just love this record. I think they just did a really great job, a really great follow-up to 1. I feel like I haven't listened to it, or I haven't been invested in it enough to really compare it to Zombie 1, just because Zombie 1 is just up there with some of my favorite records of all time, and I feel like I've had this record for at least a week, and it's great. But I still feel like it has a little bit of a mountain to climb to get to Zombie 1, So I will keep you posted on that, but for sure on EPs of the year, without a doubt, one of the biggest surprises of this year, and I love it. So go check it out when it comes out on May the 21st. Very stoked, very cool. Go check it out. Let me know in the comments what you think about it. Again, it's about a week out, so I know you're going to be held in suspense. I imagine a lot of you are going to be watching the Zombie 2 stream, so check that out, and let me know what you think about my thoughts on the record. If you agree, if you disagree, I'd love to have that conversation, that discourse. So please comment below. I'd love to know your thoughts. If you enjoyed this content, please like, share, subscribe. It goes a long way. I know I asked for it at the beginning of the video, but if you watched it all the way through, I really appreciate you. I thank you for taking the time to watch this. It's much appreciated. And thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy Zombie 2 as much as I got enjoyment out of it. And we'll be talking with you soon, guys. Peace.